Hey, Blockchain Bernie here, broadcasting live from sunny California. We have a new episode, and this is a technical explainer of the Bitoku SDK that we're building. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder and CEO of Bitoku Labs. We're building a storage layer for smart contract platforms. That is super exciting stuff because the storage layer for smart contracts is currently missing. And I'm going a little bit into the details today about how the SDK works. For those of you who don't know, SDK stands for Software Development Kit. So many of those things that add some functionality that developers can use to build cool stuff, they come with SDKs. So our SDK is for Rust developers that build Solana programs, right? And I will show you a little bit in detail today how that all works, how it would be without Bitoku if a programmer develops a Solana smart contract in Rust, and then what we're adding, that developer and that startup that's building cool new Web3 apps and cool new DeFi apps as well, how that adds value to them. So it's an interesting video. It is a little bit technical, but I'll give my best to make it understandable to anyone that's interested in blockchain technology. So please stay to the end, because in the beginning I will have an example, but then in the end I will resolve how it would work in real life. So make sure to watch it till the end. All right, so let's dive into my iPad here. And let's see how a Solana program looks. And the smallest entity in a Solana program is called an instruction. An instruction is kind of the smallest atomic unit that we can use to write code. And the example I'm going to give today is about writing a Web3 version of Airbnb. So everyone knows Airbnb, but it's a centralized Web 2 thing. So that means Airbnb could ban whoever they want if they want to have, images of those places look better. They can, just change the images, right? It's Airbnb can do that, right? And whatever they could do. And obviously they take their tax, right? It's like, I don't know, 3% or 5%. Don't know exactly how much Airbnb charges. And let's say we want to build a Web3 version of Airbnb that is really community owned, governed by a DAO. And it's not only that the community owns the code and controls the code, we want the community also to own the data, right? And what is the data? The data is obviously the photos of the places that are listed there on Airbnb. It's also the reviews that people gave, and also of course the data about the owners and stuff like that. So there is a lot of data. If we want to build a real community owned version of Airbnb, we need to build it on the blockchain. That's called Web3. So the code is owned by the community, but the data is the most important stuff. And with today's smart contracts, we just cannot do that. The data would be stored on some centralized platforms, and there is simply no blockchain-based storage that is a layer to smart contracts, right? And I will show you exactly now how this works, because we have a Solana program here. He's writing an instruction, and let's say the instruction would be store, what's that one? Let's get this one. Okay. Store review, right? So this will be an instruction. And inside that instruction, the Solana programmer is writing some code here, some Rust code. And, at some point, this review needs to be stored away into some storage layer so that it can be retrieved later, right? So if we do that in current Solana, we would just store it in an account, right? So we would have like a review account, right? And then there are some fields, .review, and then we would just say use the equal sign, the assignment operator, and say, okay, this would be the review text, right? Semicolon, right? And the review text will be passed on here as a parameter into this instruction, right? So what's the problem with this? The problem with this is this will be stored in a Solana account, right? Solana has the concept of accounts, and if programs want to store something in accounts, those accounts are mostly program-derived accounts, right? Those are accounts that are owned by a program. They are called PDAs in Solana. And they will be stored on the Solana blockchain. And storage on Solana blockchain means that all the validators need to keep it in memory, in RAM. And there are thousands of validators. So you can imagine that the cost of that is super high. So with the current price of SOL, of the Solana token, just storing 100 megabytes, and you can imagine 100 megabytes is not much. It's maybe 50 photos, right? Maybe it's 200 photos, whatever. It's nothing for an Airbnb, right? It already costs $10,000 at the current price of SOL, which, at the time of recording, or it's not recorded, it's a live stream here, so but anyway, it's $14 approximately at this point in time. So at this price of Solana, it would cost you $10,000 to store 100 megabytes on Solana. By the way, if you would do that on Ethereum, and I did the math, it would be millions and millions of dollars, right? So it's way, way more expensive on Ethereum just because, Ethereum offers less block space. It's just not as scalable. So, but with 10,400 megabytes, you can easily see our Airbnb will go up to terabytes and terabytes, probably even exabytes really fast. So that means we just cannot store it on the Solana chain, right? So that's why we have the Bitoku chain. Everything will be offloaded to another blockchain, which is the Bitoku chain. And the Bitoku chain is specialized for storage. So that means not every validator needs to store all the data, but our Bitoku validators communicate with satellites, and those satellites are our storage provider nodes. And these do the actual storage, and they have more storage available, and there are millions of storage nodes all over the world, and they are optimized for storage, not for executing code on smart contracts. So that's what Bitoku does. We're super excited about it, and we're making progress building the SDK. So this was the old way of doing it here, right? So how do we do it with the SDK? So we would not do this here, right? We would not just write it into a Solana account, but on the other hand, we would use a so-called Rust crate. So we have a Rust crate, which is kind of a library of functions that we can use. And then we just create a request. And the request is like a data structure, right? So the request is like, okay, I want to read data, I want to write data, and then I have a bucket ID. So for those of you who are not familiar with that bucket metaphor, it's also being used in AWS S3 and stuff like that. Think of it as, a storage bin for lots of storage, right? It could be like a directory or something, or, a drive maybe. So we can create a bucket here, and then can create the request, and creating the request, encoding the request so that it can send out of the Solana chain into the Bitoku chain. That's all part of the magic that happens inside our SDK that we're building right now. So all you would do here is like you would say you would say Bitoku dot create bucket, right? So we can create a storage bucket on Solana, and we can just give it a string name like my bucket, right? And then we have that. So that's easy. And then we can say Bitoku dot create file, inside that bucket. So here we would say bucket equals, so we get a bucket ID back from that. And then we say create file, and we pass in the bucket ID that we just got and create a file name, right? And that could be, for example, reviews, right? And then we could just append the review, right? We could just say Bitoku dot append, and this would be F, our file, right? And we say append to this file the review text, right? Boom, and then we have it in the file, right? And this is very similar as we would write code in a normal computer, right? Like 40, 50 years ago, we've already done that. And now we can write code on the blockchain to make it, owned by the users and, tamper-proof and everything, right? And censorship resistant and all these things, right? We've done that with smart contracts, but the storage layer is missing. And think about what cool apps we could build that actually fulfill the promise of blockchain, right? We need, community-owned, tamper-proof, censorship-resistant Web3 apps, right? And it would be so cool to have a Web3 version of not only Airbnb, but all the other Web2 apps, right? So yeah, this is all possible with the Bitoku chain, and we're so excited of building the SDK, and we have the first prototypes already there. So we will show you some more as time goes by. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview now, how this actually works. If you like this kind of content, give the video a like, subscribe to my channel, and this is going to be in a separate playlist, right? So it's a little bit more technical than the other stuff that I'm posting. But if you're interested, let me know. We can do even more technical stuff. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. So I will do some more technical videos, and maybe instead of my scribbling here on the iPad, I can also have some real code in the editor here and show it on VSC and even compile it and stuff. I'm just not sure if this audience of this channel is interested in that, but if you're interested, let me know in the comments. In the last video, I already got some nice comments that people are interested in learning the details on how smart contracts can be hacked and give a few example hacks. And, I've read that, and I will definitely do that video. So for today, thanks you so much for watching, and see you next time.